Hey guys, you're here for running news? Then you're in luck. Here's this week's selection of running related news. Let's get to it. Thanks for joining me on the channel today, guys. If you haven't done so already, please help us out by hitting that subscribe button and clicking the bell below for notifications when we roll out those new videos for you. And it also helps the YouTube algorithm and stuff if you give us a thumbs up like. You know what to do. Okay, story one. Nike is set to launch a running casual shoe with a waffle outsole. I guess you could run in it. I don't see why not. I'll get a pair and I'll run in it and I'll tell you what happens. It looks like they're embracing their running shoe heritage, which, let's not forget, is pretty much how Nike started out. It's good to see them embracing that heritage the same way as they do their basketball models. They seem to get a lot of time and perhaps not so much put aside to running shoes. The Waffle One is slated for launch in a couple of different colorways, along with a very varied custom option too. There's a significant heel clip on this model, and it does remind me a little bit of that Sacai waffle shoe that they released. There's a few colorways of that over the last couple of years. It's quite a fetching shoe, I think. A really nice take on the waffle outsole design, complete with the waffle iron Bowerman bumps on the outsole. Price is also quite reasonable as well. I think the standard retail models are going to be at 90 Earth credits and the custom model is 115. We've seen Nike steadily release a few old school models now, some retros of their original running shoes. The Tailwind, the Pegasus for example, though for many years their focus has been on those basketball models, just retro after retro of those, and some of them are great and some of them not so interesting, but I'm quite keen to actually try this one out. The upper looks quite minimal. It looks like it could be quite a reasonably light option. You never know, it could be better than some of their intended performance running shoes. Can you run in the Waffle One? Of course you can. I'll try it out, see if I can get a pair. Maybe even a custom pair as well. Story 2. Finally, the long-awaited release of the Vaporfly Next 2 in North America. It's occurred. You can actually buy it. There was a huge delay, wasn't there? I mean, we've had them over here in the UK for it's over a month or so, I think. Sadly, the shoe doesn't come at that lower price point. We've seen that in parts of Europe, certainly here in the UK. At least you ZoomX hungry runners can now pick up a pair of the Next 2. You can experience the redesigned upper and the same midsole underneath. The new materials though and the design are really nice, I have to say. The upper is a big improvement on that Vaporweave stuff. It always reminds me of a bin bag. I've noticed on some high quality images of that recent OG pair that were released that the red paint on the midsole of the toe box area just looks really shabby. Just seems really sloppy. I do remember the black kind of line that's on the midsole of my Next Ekiden edition from a couple of years back. They were really sloppy too. It's like someone had just drawn it on with a magic marker or a Sharpie or something. I think even Beast could do a better job than that, just with her jaws, if she held the pen in there and had a go. I've got to be honest, none of the other colourway versions do it for me. It's really the Proto that hits the spot. I really wish they'd done that OG in this kind of style. That would have been much better, much more palatable. Which is your favourite of all of the Next 2 colourways that we've seen? There's loads of different ones. There's like a sort of pale yellow. There was that very strange one I covered on the last running news that's like a golden sort of yellowy colour with some green hits on it. I can't deal with the blue and red one. It just makes me feel, I don't know, just reminds me of the Joker film. How much are the Next 2 in your region? Let me know in the comments below. Story 3. Finally, we've had some more pictures leaked of that sought after and highly anticipated Adidas Boston 10. More pictures have surfaced and shock horror. Energy rods. I see energy rods. There's a huge slab of light strike there, isn't there, guys? Along with that Pro variant on top, but seems like a slither. I mean, how high is this shoe going to be? Is it even going to be legal? It almost looks like it's, you know, too high to be true. The midsole looks a little bit like the Pegasus Turbo, but it's been afflicted by some terrible disease, like a bioweapon or something. Despite that huge stack, we've got a very old school style mudguard around the front of the shoe. It's certainly a mishmash of old and new, isn't it, guys? It makes, though, for rather intriguing prospect. The past meets the future. Something like that anyway. I do think it's going to upset a few people though. The Boston model is very highly regarded, and when you look at like an older version, as I'm showing on screen at the moment, and comparing that up to this one, it really does shock actually. It's quite different. It's going to be a very, very divisive release when it does come out. I think some people are either going to love it or they're going to hate it. And a lot of people were really worried the fact that it's got those energy rods in. We weren't sure whether it had them or not. Now we know. Bear in mind, we've had some light strike shoes like the SL 20.2, and that was already getting up there in terms of weight. If we add in some extra foam and the energy rods, well, it could make for quite a heavy shoe. A full deck of energy rods there. Lots and lots of foam. What say you, good people? What's your opinion on this Boston 10? Has it just moved too far away from what it originally was? Is this even a Boston shoe anymore? Post up your comments down below. Before we get to the last story today, guys, I have to say I'm still feeling really tired every so often from having that vaccination a couple of weeks back now. Every now and then it just sort of hits me. I just feel like completely sapped of all energy. But it's okay though, there's a constant supply of white chocolate cookies. We've got some coffee. Beast. Story 4. A little more news on the Three Stripe brand. This time, their collaboration with Allbirds. Adidas and Allbirds have published some images of their collaborative shoe. It has a highly sustainable focus. And of course, there's an effort to produce a shoe that's got the absolute bare minimum carbon footprint that they can manage. That goes from the actual making of the shoe in terms of materials, to the redesign of the shoebox packaging, and to reduce the weight and emissions of creating said packaging. They've even changed the type of fuel that they're going to use to transport the shoes from place to place. They call the whole design process a cradle to grave process. It's a bit like, whoa, okay guys. Certainly got some Allbirds vibes in the eyelets here, and a very strong material based design. I think they went right back to the type of thread that they were going to use and kind of started from there and built the shoe around the materials rather than kind of around the purpose of the shoe. It does sound like they've used an EVA foam here in the midsole as opposed to perhaps one of the newer variants that pretty much everybody's using these days. By the sounds of it, EVA is slightly less taxing in terms of environmental factors. I think with the recent sellout of the made-to-be-remade Ultra Boost shoe, it certainly seems Adidas are turning down the heat on the environment, and much needed changes for the future really. There's not an awful lot more information about this shoe yet. I think we'll see a little bit more in early 2022. It used to seem like a long way off that, but actually 2022 will be here before we know it. Okay, that's all the running news for today, guys. If you've got any interesting stories that you've seen, please let me know via the email in the description of this video. Musical interlude time. You know I'm a big fan of all things Radiohead. Tom York, Ed O'Brien. Oh, Ed O'Brien, he's a good Ed. I've been listening to the 2009 album called Anima by Tom York. I really like the tracks Twist and Impossible Knots. There's some really interesting production on this record. I wouldn't say it's the most easy to sort of get into album that I've listened to of recent time, but it certainly presents a really interesting listen. It's a bit like one of those puzzles really, you've got to listen to it a few times to figure out where all the pieces go. Might be really good if you're doing some sort of long run as well. Maybe if you're doing some trail running actually, you could put this on and kind of zone out, just look around, enjoy the environment. I know some people like for their running music something really sort of standard, you know, with some type of 4/4 beat, but yeah, it's good to sort of break away from that occasionally if you're not too worried about pace, and put something on that presents a really challenging picture, I suppose, this weird soundscape that you can take in and take what you want from actually. I think lots of people will treat this album a bit like a painting, I suppose, and they'll all see different things, or at least hear different things when they check it out. It's kind of cool as well the way Tom York uses his voice like percussion, like drums, and he sampled little tiny sections and little phrases of the tracks and reuses them over and over in different ways. Do check this one out from 2019, it's called Anima by Tom York. Okay guys, that's the end of the video for today. If you haven't done so already, please hit the subscribe button and click the bell below for notifications when we roll out those new videos for you. It really helps the channel out too if you give this video a thumbs up, like, and share it with your running buddies. My name's EDDBUD, and I'll be seeing you